So Erika Kirk has made her first major video response to all the critics that have been coming at her since the death of her husband, Charlie Kirk. And she has made a video talking about people like Candace Owens. Candace claims she murdered her husband, it says in the title. You've got people like Druski who have made skits about Erika Kirk. And she's done a lot of things or said a lot of things that have made people raise eyebrows the way that she's acted since the death of her husband. All right, guys, and this is her first major response. So I haven't seen the video. I'm going to watch it along together with you guys. But yeah, let's get into that. But before we do, subscribe to the channel, like the video, tick the little bell for notifications. And guys, let's just get into it.
It seems to me that nothing will ever be enough for the evil in this world. Our country has become unrecognizable. These people have perverted the truth to the point that they motivated the murder of my husband. They have continuously tried to assassinate the president, and anyone who stands in their way is labeled hateful, racist, fascist, and every other trigger word that is grossly dishonest. We want the best for our country. They don't. This is why Charlie started Turning Point USA in the first place. He didn't trust the radicalized liberal teachers. And this past Saturday, it was a school teacher, of all people, a school teacher, that attempted to change our history for the worst with bullets. And everyone is asking why I even went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And it was because many of the journalists in that room have attempted to dehumanize me. And I wanted to meet some of them face to face, quite frankly.
Guys, what I will say is that, you know, a lot of people have speculated as to whether she was involved in the death of her husband, right? And, you know, there are some very strange things that have happened with this whole Charlie Kirk scenario, right? So I'm not going to argue with that there are strange things. But as a Christian, I've never made a video about the conspiracy theory to do with Erika Kirk because the Bible says that one of the commandments is not to bear false witness against your neighbor. Now, whether she did it or not, without proof, without evidence, there's speculation, right? People can speculate. There's nothing wrong with speculating on things. But when you say something as something that's definitive, that she was involved, right? That to me would be bearing, you could be possibly bearing false witness against your neighbor. And that basically means to accuse somebody or to affirm that somebody did something that they didn't do. Okay, if she's innocent, she's not involved, right? She's not on trial. She's not on trial, right? She's not been convicted of being involved in anything like that. We understand that there are agencies like the CIA and there's agencies out there that, you know, people do get away with stuff, right? But to accuse someone of doing something without any real proof or evidence or without being convicted, there's the potential that you are making a false accusation against somebody, and that's something that God commands us not to do. So I just dropped that out there, all right, guys? So, and also, could you imagine how it would feel if your husband was murdered, or your wife, or your partner, or your friend, right? And people were accusing you of being involved. I can't even imagine that if she is innocent, right? If she's not involved, right? Let's just assume she's not involved based on, you know, she's not a suspect, right? Can you imagine how it must feel for her being on that side of the coin, right? It's not to say that a wife can't be involved in the demise of their husband, because that can be possible, and it is possible, right? I mean, it happens, right? It happens. Women hire men to unalive their husbands. That happens, and vice versa. Men do it to women as well, right? But yeah, is she involved? I don't know. I wouldn't want to have an opinion on it. I can have my thoughts, but I won't voice it out like that indefinitely without evidence or without her being on trial. Okay, so I'll just say that. Let's just carry on and see what else she's gonna say during this video.
Why have a conversation about me when you can have a conversation with me? So, for example, a journalist from the Daily Mail came up to me. She introduced herself, and she was very gracious. She was saying, "You look so beautiful. I'm so sorry for your loss." To which I replied, "It is so nice to put a name to the face, especially with all of the slander, the lies, accusations that are out there surrounding my husband's murder and myself." And I said to her, "You know what's so interesting? This is my first time at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I find it so fascinating, the dynamic that is going on right now, because everyone is all dressed up, and you guys are co-mingling in and out of each other's cocktail parties. And so for one night, you are able to put aside all of your differences for the sake of freedom of speech. And then by Monday morning, things will go back to being an absolute bloodbath between all of you. To which she replied, literally, she said, I know, isn't it special, right?
Guys, obviously the correspondence dinner, I did make a video about there was an assassination attempt on Trump at that dinner. There's a video of Erika Kirk crying, walking out of the dinner. People were acting like she was acting or whatever, right? And yeah, I mean, that's basically what you're talking about. The correspondence dinner, that's where the assassination attempt took place.
Isn't tonight so special? And following that conversation, it was time to take our seats, and we went into the big ballroom where the dinner was. And one of the first things I noticed when I walked into that room was quite literally the proximity of the opposing outlets to one another. So you have one table here that's Politico, and another table here that's Fox, and another table here that's WAPO, and you're all crammed together, elbow to elbow. And to make the night even more of a spectacle, every single 10-person table had 10 bottles of wine. And the president of the White House Correspondents Association, she did a great job of trying to make the evening have that feeling of Americana. You know, we were in a room celebrating freedom of speech despite our differences. And the U.S. Marine Band performed the national anthem so beautifully. And then shortly thereafter, gunshots rang out and total chaos ensued. And you guys have all seen what happened next because there are 1,000 videos of it. So let's discuss that fact for a second. If you were in that room, you had no way of knowing what the status of the shooter was, how many there were, or honestly, really.
Oh, so that could be the trigger point why she's making this video. Because obviously everyone's talking about the video of her crying when she was walking out of the dinner. So maybe that's what's pushed her over the edge. And it would anybody. It would anybody. Like if every time you do something, it's just getting criticized. So a shooting just took place, right? And she's a woman, right? She's a woman. She's gonna be like, I mean, I'm not, guys. I don't want women coming at me in the comments. The feminists, right? Like women are more emotional than men, right? So situation like that can happen. She's a woman. It's quite normal to see a woman in tears after a shooting, especially attempted shooting of her president and her friend, Trump, right? So, yeah, she's walking out, she's crying, oh, I just want to go home, right? And, yeah, so that's gone viral on the internet, and it seems like that's the trigger point of why she's making this response now. But, yeah, let's continue.
Anything, it was just utter chaos. And so during an active shooting, these journalists are using their phones to find moments to capture for clips. They were so concerned about getting a video in a room with an active shooter that they could have accidentally and quite literally filmed themselves being shot. Many of those people have become so desensitized that fight or flight became secondary to the opportunity of putting themselves into the story, which ironically breaks the #1 rule of journalism. And again, ironically enough, the shooter was a teacher. You have these people who are supposed to be teaching our children the future of this country, and he's so unhinged that he is able to teach children by day and then attempt to murder the president of the United States by night. And in his manifesto, he starts by contextualizing himself.
Do you know what? I'll say it's ironic that when something so serious happens around the most protected man in the world, right? The president of the United States, I think it's more ironic that it doesn't get shot down, or that there always seems to be some kind of footage or close proximity, people with cameras, right? We live in an age of the camera phone, I understand that, right? But if you look at the assassination attempt at the rally with Donald Trump where his ear got shot or grazed, right? there was literally press there with not people on mobile phones, with cameras, right? And the flag was being lowered into frame to get the perfect shot. Those people should have been cleared around, or cleared from around any sort of close proximity of the president, with an active shooter, an unidentified active shooter in place. I will say that's ironic. Okay, that is ironic. The fact that people were in a dinner, yeah, obviously there's people there with cameras and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that the whole situation is weird. I did make a video about that as well, and I talked about the fact that what was her name, Lauren something. She's the, I don't know. She was a White House correspondent anyway. She said there will be shots fired in the room. Ironically, there were shots fired in the room. Could be a coincidence, but also could be like another one of these conspiracy theories. But let's just continue.
By saying, I am a citizen of the United States of America. And while we may have big problems with illegal immigration in this country, I have to tell you, we have an even bigger problem when it comes to the systemic indoctrination and radicalization of our own citizens. This is what got my husband killed. This is what has led to 3 legitimate attempts on President Trump's life. And I can speak firsthand to that unbearable toll that this must take on our First Lady. There has never been a president who has faced this many assassination attempts in Americans' entire history. And after each one, the reaction from the far left has been, at best, a shrug, and in some cases, a sick disappointment that the shooter was unsuccessful. We are all human beings. And if you can just pause and just take a minute and ask yourself, how would you feel if even just one person made cruel jokes about the attempted murder of your loved one? That is what Jimmy Kimmel did to the First Lady. He said that she had the glow of an expected widow. The glow of an expected widow. Just 48 hours before that nightmare almost became a reality. In this culture we're living in, absorbs disagreement as a form of personal betrayal. It turns having an opposing viewpoint into a moral crime worthy of punishment. And here's what I've realized through all of this, truly, having lived through quite literal hell these past 7 months, if you strip someone of their humanity long enough, you will arrive at the chilling conclusion that they don't deserve to exist at all. Every morning I wake up to a new headline lying about me. I have comedians dressing up in whiteface. I have people saying I'm not fit to be CEO. And I have Candace Owens claiming I murdered my husband. And the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, there you are. She's talking about Candace. She's talking about Druski. You know what? Druski was spot on with that. He was spot on with that comedy skit. But I guess when you're at the receiving end of the joke, or people are not laughing with you, they're laughing at you. Right? That's probably how Erika Kirk feels. Right? Obviously it's gonna feel like different. Right? But listen. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm married. I've been married for 14 years, and I would, if I was obviously in my grave, I would probably want my wife to be, I wouldn't say conducting herself differently, but I would want my wife to probably be, I would expect, knowing my wife, I would expect that my wife would probably come across to the public, even though she's not in the public eye. I'd expect her to seem a lot more upset, or at least look like a grieving wife. I think at the end of the day, everyone is different, and maybe Erika Kirk is just not emotional like that. Maybe she's just not or maybe she is, but just not public. Maybe she's stronger than what people think, possibly, right? Or maybe she tries to come across stronger than what people think. But you know, obviously she did lose her husband, right? She lost her husband, and there's always going to be people that speculate, but again, there's people that come out in support of her. She has a lot of support from people who don't believe that she was involved in any way, shape, or form. Okay, one of them being the president of the United States. You know, she said something about, there's been 3 attempts on Donald Trump. Right? I find that quite strange. The fact that, well, first of all, not every attempt. The first and the third attempt. No, the first attempt, there was a clear shot. It was an open, obviously it was a sniper, right? So, you could put that down to luck, grace, whatever you want to put it down to, okay? Or a conspiracy. Maybe it was planned or whatever, right? But then there's another attempt, and then another attempt, obviously the most recent attempt. I think the other one was at the White House, or there was a guy coming out the bushes at the White House or something like that, right? Now, I find that strange that there's so many attempts, and people are... what is wrong with the security team? What is it? The Secret Service. What is wrong with security? Like, are they unable to protect the president? The FBI chief, is it Kash Patel? People had him on camera. They were filming him at the dinner. Now, why is he just allowing that to happen? Why are he's just sitting there and people are just filming him before the shooting took place? Or was it after the shooting? No, it was before the shooting took place. Why is security not tight like that? It's the president of the United States. That's what I find more intriguing. Not the fact that there's 3 attempts. We know that a lot of people hate Donald Trump. Although, again, there's a lot of people that love Donald Trump, but a lot of people hate him, right? So why is security so... there's been 2 attempts already. Why is security so thin? That's what I don't understand. And that's more ironic than 3 attempts. Especially in the age that we live in now. We live in the most technologically advanced age right now in humanity in terms of technology, cameras, security, weaponry, all that sort of stuff. They should be able to protect the president a little bit better than that. And maybe he needs to have a word with Kash Patel and them guys. Because, hey, at the end of the day, there's been 3 attempts. There should have only been 1. The 1 attempt that this should have stopped after that. There shouldn't be another 2 attempts that we're talking about, in my opinion. But let's continue. It's almost finished, guys. Let's just watch the last little bit of Erika Kirk.
There is a serious epidemic of dehumanization plaguing this country. The most unthinkable tragedies have now become commonplace in our daily headlines, and yet the media finds a way to conveniently explain away violence. This is what we're up against. This is what we're up against. What is happening right now is something none of us can afford to ignore. The evil forces working to divide us, to distract us, and to pull us apart has never been stronger. This is a moment for Americans to come together and decide what kind of country we are going to be before we lose our country altogether. In Romans chapter 12, verse 21, it says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And this is why my husband created Turning Point USA, so we could have civil discourse and debate and open dialogue, because when we stop talking to each other, bad things happen. I am choosing to fight for America, for my children, for your children, and for our humanity, because we all need to do our part. And by the grace of God, we will succeed, and America will remain what she was always called to be, a shining city on a hill, a light to the world. So let me give you a perfect example of how it's done. My husband did it best and left us the blueprint on how to have uncomfortable conversations with those who disagree. Buckle up, everybody. Here we go.
Oh, okay. Well, guys, I will end it by saying, look, at the end of the day, I've already said what I said about not bearing false witness against your neighbor. This is a commandment from the Lord, okay? So if you don't know that somebody did something, right? You're best to mind your own business, right? Listen, you're entitled to have an opinion in life. You're entitled to have a theory in life. But most of the people that are having their opinions, obviously, are, well, or the loudest voices with an opinion are online. They're in the public. They're addressing the public. They're helping to spread those narratives, right? And my argument is whether the narrative is true or whether it's false, only the Lord knows. Only God knows, right? So, is it wise to be pushing that narrative without going through the right legal channels, okay? And without, without a genuine, not a genuine, without a legal, without like a, what is it, a legal announcement implicating that sort of behavior or involvement, okay? The Bible also says not to repay evil for evil. So if you do feel like that she was involved anyway, right? Even if she was involved, right? And in something evil, right? The solution is not to repay evil with evil, but to overcome evil with good. Okay, guys, and it's a good thing to not to talk about things that you don't know, not to make assumptions and all that sort of stuff, guys. I'm gonna stop ranting. All right, pretty long video. And I think it's good that she's come out and she's actually said something. She's addressed something because at the end of the day, it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Her silence makes people think, okay, yes, see, look, she must be involved because she didn't say nothing. And if she comes out and she says the wrong thing, it makes her look like, she was involved. Or she comes out and she says something, it makes it look like, oh, look how she's trying to defend herself. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But I think it's appropriate timing for her to address it, especially with, the viral clips of her crying and stuff like that, the attacks. And what she said in that video as well is that people were saying that Melania Trump looked like an expected weirdo. So, not weirdo, sorry, an expectant widow, right? So that's one of the trigger points why she made this video, and I guess people sharing the video of her, and of course people trying to, unalive the president. But that's all I've got for you in this video, guys. I'm interested to hear your comments or thoughts in the comment section. So drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. What's your theory or whatever. But yeah, guys, I just want to end it like that. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications. I'll see you next time.